Hey now, gang, welcome to this 44th installment of the Paper Street Podcast. Appreciate you all tuning in whenever, wherever, and however you're doing so to this genre film and filmmaking-centric program presented by Paper Street Pictures. My usual co-host Becky Sayers is traveling this week, and in an effort to make sure we got to speak with our guest on this one in time for his film's release, it just so happened to work out that I am flying solo this go-around. The I in question, yours truly, my name is Sean Talley. I am a member of the Paper Street Pictures production team. And as noted on the last few episodes of this pod, Paper Street Pictures has had a bit of a whirlwind fall and winter, with multiple films releasing in back-to-back months. In October, director Lucky McKee's Old Man, starring Avatar heavy Stephen Lang, was released and is now available to rent or buy via all your usual on-demand services. In November, Blood Relatives, a Paper Moon by way of near-dark vampire road trip comedy from writer-director-star Rian Johnson's Secret Weapon, Noah Segan, hit Shudder. In December, the horror comedy anthology sequel Scare Package 2, Rad Chad's Revenge, was also delivered as a fitting Christmas present from us, also to Shudder. In January, Emily Hagan's Sorry About the Demon, which one reviewer beautifully referred to as Nora Ephron's Evil Dead, landed on Shudder as well. And now, after a little time to catch our breath, not only is this here podcast back, but Paper Street Pictures is back with yet another film release, this one being The ARTIFICE GIRL. And on this week's episode, I am talking with the man behind it. So without further ado, let me pitch to my chat with Franklin Ritch. We are joined on this episode by a filmmaker. We'll be glad to say in 20 years that we were lucky to work with well before he blew up and stopped taking our calls. He is a writer, director, producer, and actor whose feature film, The ARTIFICE GIRL, is now available across on-demand platforms. He is Franklin Ritch. Franklin, thank you so much for joining me on the program here.
Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate it. Super happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. And again, happy to be on the ground floor of the Franklin Ritch project.
I honestly, I've been listening to all of the previous episodes of the Paper Street podcast to prep for this. I wanted to make sure I knew what kind of curveballs might get thrown.
Well, that rapid fire 15 is the only curveballs. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. But you will know then that we usually start off by asking folks whether you can get as macro or micro as you want. But what initially gave you the bug? I know you're kind of a storyteller in your bones here. What first got you interested in storytelling and writing and filmmaking? Was it a person? Was it an experience? Was it a particular movie or TV show that got you hooked?
Oh, well, the answer should be obvious. It was Wallace and Gromit and the Wrong Trousers on VHS. But truthfully, I remember, when I was really, really little, I always wanted to make movies. But when you're a kid and you want to do that, like it's like wanting to be an astronaut, right? There's no way you could actually do that. That's just, it's an insane ambition to have. But I remember watching Wallace and Gromit at like 6 or 7 and just like having this moment of, oh, wait a minute, like, well, I can do that. That's just, you go get some plasticine and then you have like a little still camera and you move it a little bit, take a picture, move it a little bit. And then for me, that was huge. And just suddenly filmmaking was something that I could actually do myself. So that's what I did. I got into stop motion animation in like when I was really little and into middle school. And then by high school, I actually had friends that I could collaborate with and make short films with in live action. And that's kind of how I got into it.
That is fantastic. My kids, I have a 7 and a 4, and they just discovered Shaun the Sheep via Netflix, I think. So I went back and showed them Wallace and Gromit very recently because similar. I found that first, through the Aardman stuff. And on side note, I'm very excited. Aardman's doing a segment for upcoming Star Wars Visions, which is like an animation anthology.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
I love animation, and I think it's a great way to get kids into the kind of the infinite possibilities of storytelling.
Yeah, it's a good gateway for creativity for genre stuff too. So I agree.
Absolutely.
When you kind of progressed from, making your own stuff and into school, did you have film school in mind? Was there formal training of any kind other than just college with some film classes, or how'd you go about it?
Yeah, I dropped out of FSU after my freshman year. I kind of felt like what I wanted to do wasn't necessarily, first of all, school is expensive. That's like, that was one big thing, but I got offered a job after my first year of college, working at a production company. And it was a phenomenal deal because I felt like I was getting a paycheck to learn, as opposed to digging a hole of debt to learn. Not that I don't want to say anything negative about film schools. I think it's FSU's got an amazing film school, and some of my best friends and some of the people that I respect the most in this industry came from that school and came from film school. I highly recommend people, if you're into film and want to go to school for it, that's a fantastic thing to do. But for me personally, I kind of felt almost I sort of had a baptism by fire working for a production company. Started off as an associate producer, and then kind of one day on a commercial set, the creative director of the company was just like, "All right, kid, you direct." And he just kind of handed me the reins, and I was 18, 19 at the time, and just suddenly had to direct a commercial shoot set with all these people that had been veterans in the industry and had been doing this for longer than I was alive. So that was, I think, kind of that gave me, I think, in a strange way, in hindsight, a lot of encouragement to really do this. And I learned sort of a lot of the kind of technical sides of film through working at that company. Which, funny enough, was where I met, or not where I met, but where I worked alongside Britt McTammany, who was our DP for this project. He was one of the people who kind of ran that company. And so, yeah, it's that was definitely kind of a big learning experience for film.
So for the record, he was not shoved into a locker by bullies Benson and Moorhead at FSU, folks. He's not saying that. But no, that's, there's a lot of those rags to riches stories that get kind of overplayed. Like Spielberg took a closet in a janitor's area and made an office at Universal, but they don't tell you the part where his dad worked in the studio system and stuff like that. But you have a legitimate, I want to know, not to get in the weeds with that, but was that a magnanimous gesture by that guy, or was he just over the shit and said, "Here, you do it"?
In the moment, it was oh, he saw something in me. He had faith in me. In hindsight, it was 5 a.m. on a 13-hour shoot. No, he definitely just wanted a coffee break.
Well, we're going to start molding that story to the former version, because everybody loves the rags to riches. No, he saw the spark. I want to believe. I mean, we've read your script. We loved it. We were so happy to jump on board with it. We like to think that we also saw the spark. So we're going to say that guy did too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like there's definitely a lot of, it's romanticized, and sure. There's a lot to love about this industry, but at the same time, I think people don't often really see that, like you said, sometimes it's just happenstance. There's a lot of luck and a lot of hard work kind of in tandem with that.
Exactly. A lot of people say luck and opportunity, is the veil, but behind it is a boatload of hard work and effort. So, So you got out of college, and then you were kind of on your way. How many years ago was that? Not to date you and age you on the program, but just as a rough estimate.
I graduated high school in 2012. And so, and that was, 2013. I was working on a web series independently for just on YouTube called The Chronicles of Alexander Hawthorne. And I was working on that in and out of college, that first year of college. And then was working on that along with some other short films when I was working at the production company called Digital Video Arts. So yeah, that was, 2013 through 2014, 2015 or so.
Right. I'm going to get to the germ of the idea for Artifice Girl, but I was curious about, with the nature of it and it having not just the procedural kind of aspect with the detective, with the people in it, with the tech and IT side of it. I was wondering if you had clock watching kind of 9-to-5 jobs in the corporate world while you were grinding or not, or if you've kind of just stayed, grinding and just film only. Because again, other than that, if that's not the case, you're very well researched, I think, after watching Artifice Girl. Did you work in the corporate sector a good bit, or was it just heavy research?
Not really. No, I after that production company got bought out by an insurance company, I left along with a few other people, as it goes. And for a long time, I was really just bussing tables, delivering Thai food, and for a bit, I worked at an escape room. And that was how I paid the bills and just did film for fun. I dabbled a little bit in freelance, but ultimately decided like, I don't want to hate what I love. So I kind of instead just took on odd jobs and just kind of did my best to just sort of pay the bills and live kind of a relatively humble life while just trying to get, a feature film off the ground and working on various short films and whatnot. So that's really what was kind of happening between then and Artifice Girl.
Right. So then if it didn't come from working in AI or necessarily in effects or something like that, where did that germ of the idea for it come from? Because it is very specific about a few things that are going on in society between the abused children, between the AI aspect. Like what really got you started with that premise?
Yeah, I had read several articles kind of over the years that had talked about how AI and technology was being used to combat and stop predators and traffickers and criminals online. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing in the world, like what a great way to use technology for good. And I wanted to know like what kinds of interesting, conversations were happening behind closed doors between these developers. And so that idea kind of was there for a little bit, but I didn't feel compelled to actually write anything until kind of revisiting the idea in the spring of 2020, like right at the height of the pandemic, where it was like, I've got nothing but time. I'm just going to write. And dusting off the idea, I think there was like a eureka moment where I just kind of found that there could be this parallel between the budding adolescence of AI and childhood trauma. And then once that like kind of line was drawn, then the it just became clear that this was a story that I really needed to tell, and that's where it kind of all started.
And I'm guessing the pandemic gave you some real time to commit to it because, we'll get into shooting during the pandemic and all too. But have you've seen such a change in AI just in the public and with Twitter and the Chat GPT and everything just in the time since you were scripting it? Is there anything you might do differently or write differently in the script now, knowing what we keep seeing day to day almost in the news with AI?
Maybe, but at the same time, like, what would be the point? It's just going to be even more different in a few months from now. I feel fair, like it's constantly evolving, and I don't think it's going to stop evolving anytime soon. I think we're still kind of at like the beginning of this, sort of section of modern history when it comes to AI. I feel like obviously our interpretation or the way that we've depicted AI in our film may not be necessarily accurate to what's happening right now. It could be antiquated, I'm not sure. But I do think that what we tried to do was sort of present a very specific situation where this was an AI built for a very specific reason by very specific characters, with the singular kind of intention of just trying to replicate human behavior as much as possible. And that, therefore, it began to kind of blur this line of whether or not, if it was simulating these feelings and emotions so accurately, is that not the same thing as just straight up having feelings and emotions? So I don't know if that's necessarily, I don't know if that's a conversation that's necessarily relevant right now with everything that's happening with AI, because there's so much. But I will say that I do think what the film does kind of talk about that I hope people take away is, it's still important that we approach AI with integrity and compassion and thoughtfulness, because AI is going to be an inherent reflection of the people who make it. And I think that's going to be true regardless. If it's built by companies to make money, that's what it's going to do. If it's built for nefarious reasons, designed to do that, that's what it's going to do. So we need to be careful about how we're doing it.
Right. And I like that was your approach to it. And in a similar vein of, maybe it's not relevant necessarily AI, but the question of what is it to be human obviously is relevant, throughout history. And even as a comp for like Blade Runner 2049, one of the things I loved about it was that it went and took the question of, well, is Deckard a replicant? And they made it not matter. The new question was, well, if you feel what's the difference? Are you human or not? It doesn't matter if you can feel. And again, I love that you went philosophical with it. And my question is, were you ever tempted to kind of go the obvious route of like the AI turns super bad guy? Because I love that you didn't go that way. You kept it more almost like in a Star Trek philosophical way.
Sure.
But were you tempted ever to kind of go the obvious route?
No, not really. I mean, that was kind of the whole sort of thing for me, was like, what if we kind of saw the AI not as Frankenstein's monster, but instead as like a child? You know, children like AI, I think, are going to be reflections of the people who raise it. And so for me, again, with that idea of the parallel but between AI and childhood trauma, it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, then this is not going to be a story where this AI becomes jaded and takes over. This is going to be a story where the AI develops trauma of its own. And how do we kind of reconcile that? And why is that important? You know, why does that matter? So yeah, to me, that was what was interesting, is that it was going to be a conversation more like what you were talking about, like with data and next generation, and rather than the classic AI taking over. You know, that was just more interesting to me.
No, the right answer again, of course. So you were Florida based. You set the film in Florida. Was that always the intention? Was there ever a consideration to go broader? I know with the pandemic, there was things that had to be stretched and tightened up as well. But does it matter to you to set it in Florida? Do you plan to continue working in Florida?
I do, you know, or as long as I mean, to an extent, I'm very partial to my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. I think there's a lot of undiscovered talent and I don't know how to say it. There's just like magic here, artistic creativity that hasn't really been explored yet, and I kind of want to be sort of a platform for that in a way. So I would like to continue making films here locally with the people that I love working with. For this project, yeah, I mean, because of the pandemic, we kind of knew going into this, okay, this is not going to be a globe-trotting epic. This is going to be something that we will really only be able to do if we want to film this, if we want to make this a film. It's something that we're going to have to do with as few locations as possible, with as few characters as possible, to do this, you know, COVID safely, and to do it with knowing that we were going to be shooting a large proof of concept portion of this film without pretty much any funding. So because of that, we kind of knew going in, okay, if it's one location, if it's three characters, how do we make that interesting? If it's all going to be dialogue, how do we let that be a strength and an opportunity for creativity rather than a problem?
Right. And with the heavy rehearsal, I'm assuming you did some of that through Zoom with the actors?
Absolutely. Zoom was a huge kind of part of this, because everybody was using Zoom in that first kind of spring of 2020. And it was so great for us to just have this opportunity to have like a nice consistent rehearsal schedule. And it felt so casual too, because we were so starved for human interaction and socialization. We just hopped on Zoom as a cast and caught up a little bit, ran through the script, talked about it, did some table work, and just, it was great to like see everybody 2 or 3 times a week. And that was like wonderful. I would highly, if allowed, I would love to do that again with future projects. I think those kinds of rehearsal kind of regimens are really helpful.
No, it's incredible how quickly the world kind of took to Zoom and how it has changed some of Hollywood's old traditions as far as everything from the audition process to the rehearsal, like you said. And this movie, without spoiling, is very much 3 different segments. So I'm imagining you were able to kind of block each 3, because you, we'll get to in a minute, appear in 2 of them as well. So I guess it was even easier to like, well, here's the Act 1 rehearsal, here's the Act 2 rehearsal, here's the Act 3 with a different group. So you being writer, director, and the kind of the overseer, I'm sure that made it streamlined.
Sure. Yeah. And it was also nice to just kind of embody a character for, 30 to 40 minutes in a scene, rather than having to keep like taking breaks and whatnot. You just really kind of get immersed that way. Yeah. For me, again, like playing the role of Gareth was kind of sort of a necessity. I mean, for us, it was just an easy way it was just one less person we needed to have on. I felt comfortable doing it, and I wouldn't have had it not been for three things. One was that I had a lot of trust and communication with my director of photography, who did a phenomenal job, Britt McTammany. Again, I had worked with him at DVA. We had made a bunch of short films together. So I trusted him. We had done a lot of pre-production planning. That was like a big part of it. We had kind of done very extensive and specific, precise shot listing and, layout diagrams, all of that stuff, storyboard. And then of course I just really trusted my fellow cast members. David, Cinda, and Tatum were incredible actors. And I knew that if there was anything that I needed help with, that they would be there to kind of guide me as performers. So I just felt very like I was surrounded by people that I trusted. And we had done a lot of extensive pre-production planning. And for those reasons, I felt like this was something that I could do. Be on both sides of the camera. I don't know if I'd ever do that again in future projects. I would much rather just be behind the camera. Maybe like a Hitchcock cameo once in a while, but no, this was still a great learning experience to get to do that.
I was going to ask if it gave you the bug, because I know you've appeared in your own short films and such in the past, but you basically jumped into halfway into a stage play with the amount of dialogue intensiveness of the first two acts that you appear in. So like, I was wondering if it got you wanting to act more, but it sounds like you'd rather stay behind, which is fair. But again, you were natural in your defense. Like my wife watched the movie with me, had no clue you were the filmmaker as well.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. And I do want to put this out there in case anybody's listening. Hit me up, Kevin Feige. I'm happy to act in anybody else's stuff. I would love to continue acting and sort of being that kind of filling that role on other people's sets. I love acting in other people's projects because you kind of get to see how they operate and you learn a lot by doing that. I would love to continue acting, but maybe just not in my own films in the lead role. But yeah, if anybody out there is looking for a pasty redhead to fill a role, let me know.
That's right. He's offer only, guys. No auditions.
I'm not SAG yet, so let me know.
So I would argue that you worked with one legend, and there's the chance you're working with a future legend, because as much as we're glad you're on the ground floor with Franklin, are we all glad we're on the ground floor with Tatum Matthews?
Good Lord. We're all going to be riding her coattails in a few years. It's going to be, that's who Kevin Feige's really going to be reaching out to.
I was going to say, yeah, she's going to be some kid of a superhero before long, because she's already popping up on the Waltons and all kinds of stuff. But
oh yeah.
I mean, is she a local discovery from you?
She is. I don't want to, not to brag here, but I found her first. This was long before the idea of Artifice Girl. She had come to audition for a play that I was directing here in Jacksonville called Wait Until Dark. Fantastic play. People probably familiar with the film with Alan Arkin and Audrey Hepburn. One of the best thrillers of all time, in my opinion. And she came and auditioned for this play. This was back in 2018. And her audition made everybody in the room cry. This is the 8 or 9 year old girl doing a monologue about how her dog died. And we're all like sobbing. And we're like, all right, you've got the part. It was a role that didn't demand that level of talent, but you're not going to turn that down. So that was great. And I'd worked with her on several other short films and other projects. And so I had already kind of built up kind of a relationship of trust with her. So when the idea of the Artifice Girl started to develop and take form, it was just kind of a no-brainer. It was like, all right, well, obviously we need a child actor. Tatum's the only person that we know, and probably the only person out there that could pull off a character as profoundly difficult to play as Cherry. And so the expectations were high and they were far exceeded. And I still, watching the film, am like astounded at certain moments, even though I've watched it so many times in the editing room. It still is just baffling to me how amazing she is able to walk that tightrope and tap into the nuances and complexities of a character like Cherry. And to talk about it more might be kind of spoiling stuff, but she's incredible.
We'll play close to the vest here, but we can't say enough positive things about that performance. And again, it's not just the amount of child acting performances that we probably hail as great, or we can all count on our hands. And 2 or 3 of them might be from Steven Spielberg, including one who
Sure.
played a robot as well.
Right. Yeah.
And truly, I'm not kidding when I say she is on par. She is nuanced, perfect. I mean, no offense to you or Mr. Gerard or the other fine talent in the movie, but I think she is the standout in so many ways. But you asked so much of her with that role, but I mean, she, like you said, I was astounded as well, and I've seen it more than one time. So each time I'm like, my God, this kid.
Yeah. And like you said, having, I'm so proud to have gotten to have, I'm not going to say that I discovered her, to be perfectly honest. Like
we will say
it. Like booking gigs before Artifice Girl, but what I will say is that having just this kind of being a part of her journey as a young performer is I'm so grateful to say that, like you said, that I knew her when, and then also getting to pair her up with a legend like Lance.
I love when the guest segues for me.
Well, like that's the natural kind of direction of where we're talking about is, getting to like this guy that I have idolized, since for forever, he's a legend, obviously, and well deserving of that title. To pair the two of them up and have the chemistry be so immediate and have that scene be, everything a writer director could dream of for a climactic finale. That was an experience that I will always cherish for the rest of my life, is working with the two of them in that scene.
No, we agree. We were fortunate to work with Lance, and we had a little bit of a relationship with him, which I think assisted in casting him here. And he is as low maintenance, and as he's got stories for days. He's a gem. We do love him. Lucky to have his name on a few things we've done. So when it comes to the pandemic, I mean, there's obvious setbacks, but was there anything you learned shooting in the pandemic? Is there anything you could not stand other than the testing schedule and stuff like that? Like, what kind of lessons did you come away with shooting in the pandemic?
Again, it was kind of, I guess, kind of nice to have a little bit of a trial by fire. Maybe it'll make things feel a lot easier and smoother in future productions. But yeah, I mean, but that was the thing, is that we kind of looked at the limitations and the obstacles and tried to perceive them as opportunities. So we knew that this was going to be like a socially distant shoot, right? So we couldn't have actors all that close to each other. But then that just kind of encouraged us or it necessitated us to plan every shot in such a way where, okay, these actors can't be this close to each other. If they are going to be that close to each other, like, can we composite that? And that happened. That came up a few times where we had to, with editing, make characters look closer, or with shots. And I mean, everything was just kind of, it just inspired us to be more precise and thoughtful and strategic, I guess, with production. So honestly, that was good. I guess, I'm trying to see the silver lining to something that was really awful. But yeah, I think, we wanted to prove that it was possible, and that it was possible to do safely and correctly. And it was a pain in the butt sticking stuff up your nose every day. And it was not fun trying to like remove mask marks on your actor's face. And it was not fun having all these limitations. But at the same time, had it not been for the limitations, I don't know if the film would be what it is, which, is something that I'm very proud of. So I don't know. It's a tricky thing to talk about, but I'm looking forward to a future production where I don't have to do any of that, and taking all the lessons of, the pre-production planning stuff and still applying that where it's helpful, where it's going to be beneficial, but minus the swabbing, I think is going to be nice in the future.
Anything non-pandemic related? Did you come away with a major lesson or an epiphany? As every movie shoot, you kind of learn a new thing, come away with a new trick. Was there something in this one that you will take with you going forward?
Yes, lots of things. But to like tap into all of them would take up the rest of this time slot. I think, I think a huge thing that I think we kind of touched on already. The rehearsal process, I think, is very important. I think table work is really important. Making sure that, as a director and especially as a writer director, you've got to make sure that you're sharing this vision with everybody involved. if you can't do that, then you're working in a bubble and struggling with everybody else who doesn't see the same thing you do. So taking the time and having the respect for your team to sit down and really make sure that everybody kind of understands not just like what you're making, but why we're making it. And not to say that everybody necessarily has to care as much as you do or as I do, but I was lucky enough to have a team of people that cared enough to sit down and talk about the why and talk about the ideas and themes and the reason why this was a story that was resonating to us. Again, I think that was a huge advantage of having someone like Lance Henriksen, because you could, there are plenty of A-list actors that I'm sure independent film productions have brought on board, and they show up and they read the lines and they take their paycheck and they leave. But Lance, who very well could have done that, instead, he was so passionate about the story and wanted to have hours and hours of conversation with me and with Tatum about the ideas behind the story. We talked for hours about his character, about the themes and the struggles of that character, how he was connecting those ideas to his own personal experiences. And I think that made all the difference between having Lance give, the performance that he gives versus just hiring anybody to just come and do the role. The fact that Lance cared as much as he did was hugely important. And I think moving forward, just making sure that everybody on set, like with this project, everybody on set cared and shared that vision. I think that was super important.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking out of school because I do believe Lance is forthcoming about this, but he will tell people that he's taking gigs he's not proud of, and the fact that he did what he did with this film and has gone out of his way to tell producing partners, yourself, like this was important. He wants to do good work. He doesn't want to just do slapdash stuff for money. Like he did care, he put in the time, and he has mentioned to us like he is proud of this project. So yes, we couldn't thank you, Lance. We appreciate that.
Yes,
and again, thank you, Franklin, for giving a project that had some meat on the bone that he could be proud of. Because again, this is one we read, and I'm not blowing smoke. Like half the Paper Street team was like, "Holy shit, we gotta make this right now!" So it was like one of those immediate the few of us who kind of go through that process. We're like, yep, this is in. We're doing this. We were again glad to make it happen, help make it happen. Obviously, you and Britt and others are the driving force behind it. But final part of this, just the proper interview. What would you tell folks out there? I know you wore a lot of hats on this. You said you might not wear as many as far as acting and stuff going forward. But what would you tell folks who are aspiring to be filmmakers, up and coming writer directors?
That's a good question. I think I kind of said it before, but I think you're going to, with your first project, with your first film, with your first several, let's be honest, all of them, with any film, especially an independent film, you're going to have lots of obstacles and limitations. And as best as you can, you have to reframe those obstacles as opportunities. I think I kind of said that before, but I'm sticking with it because it sounds like something on a bumper sticker. But I do believe in that, though. I think you have to look at your limitations and say, okay, but how can I make these limitations important to the DNA of what I'm making? How can I let these obstacles become opportunities for creativity and for ingenuity and to do things differently in a way that no studio would ever have thought to have done that? I think that's important. I would also say maybe don't wait for permission. I know a lot of people out there that are, they're just like, man, I've been trying to sell this script for 10 years. And it's just like, listen, man, shoot a scene. You have a cell phone. Yeah, I know, not everybody has friends with camera equipment, though likely you can probably network and find someone who would be willing to help out. But you've got a cell phone, shoot a quick 1 minute scene from it. Show people your vision as best you can. We had to shoot a large portion of our film before we actually got producers involved. So that's, you just kind of have to not wait around for someone to say, all right, go for it. You kind of just start the train yourself, even if you have to push it with your hands. That's a fun. I like that, and I'm gonna hold on to that one.
That's your bumper sticker.
And sometimes it'll feel like that. Sometimes it'll feel like moving a freight train with your hands, but movement is movement.
Hear, hear. All right, we're here with Franklin Ritch, and we are going to jump into the Rapid Fire 15, which he's listened to a few episodes, so he kind of knows what he's in for. We do mix him up a bit based on the guests, so knowing a little bit about what we know about him, I've tailored this hopefully accordingly. So we will jump in. First thing that comes to mind, don't think too hard about it. We won't judge you. Right. It's really about like what kind of stuff you like, so the guests or the listeners, can learn a little more about you. So
great, looking forward to it. Let's go.
Question 1: what movie do you think you've seen the most in your life?
That's a fantastic question. Shoot. There was, when I was a kid, I would just watch Toy Story nonstop. Shoot though, if we're talking like as an adult, probably Fargo or Bong Joon-ho's Mother. I know that's a weird answer, but it's the truth.
No, man, we'll take them. What is the first film that really scared you or stuck with you, gave you nightmares?
Definitely Murder on the Orient Express. I couldn't believe that so many stabbings happened in one scene.
Sorry, which version of that? Because I know that's one of those ones like A Star Is Born that they make every 20 years.
Oh, no. The original.
Okay, cool.
Not the new one.
I didn't think you meant the Brano one, but they've also made one in the 80s. And
Brano's mustache was intimidating, but no. The original, when I was little, I just remember watching that when I was really, really little, watching Murder on the Orient Express. And it absolutely terrified me when they do the flashback and they show like every person coming in and stabbing the guy. That freaked me out. Oh, you know what? Can I change that answer? I'm so sorry. I'm totally throwing this off. Scariest movie of all time still probably is Never Ending Story. I'm sorry, but there is nothing scarier than that movie. It's still not just when I was a kid, but even still now. The wolf, the horse dying in the quicksand, the freaking nothing. It's all scary. It's all bad. No child should ever have to endure that film. That's my soapbox about that.
Leave it to a German fairy tale made by a German director to be just nightmare fuel.
Yes, of course.
What would you say, question 3, is your favorite science fiction film?
Recently, probably Arrival. Arrival was kind of a masterpiece. Classic wise, Empire Strikes Back was pretty fantastic. I'm going to go with those two.
We'll take it. What is your favorite horror movie franchise?
Ooh, oh boy. All right. Okay. Man, I was not prepared for this.
This one throws people because franchise changes it up, because you could have a great entry in one, but doesn't mean the whole thing's good.
Yeah. No, I do love the Scream franchise. Listen, it changes all the time. Like, I used to think that Nightmare on Elm Street franchise was my favorite. But then I revisited the Chucky franchise, and that's got just some really interesting stuff. Honestly, no one talks about it, but Saw is fascinating. It's not good. I wouldn't say that it's a great franchise, but it's fascinating. Favorite's
different than best. So yeah.
We'll just go with Nightmare on Elm Street. Why not?
I agree, though, that the Child's Play franchise has more hits and misses, and people don't give it enough credit for that. Better batting average than most franchises.
True.
Speaking of favorite and best, what is your favorite Coen Brothers film? And if the answer differs, what is, in your opinion, the best Coen Brothers film?
Okay, definitely. I when people ask me what my favorite film is, my default answer is Fargo, because I don't know. It's just, I can't find anything wrong with it, and it never ceases to entertain me. Every moment, every frame. I mean, No Country for Old Men is also a perfect film. So, I don't know what to tell you. They're both incredible. Watch them if you haven't.
That's one of those no wrong answers to me when you ask about Coen Brothers. But and you may have already said it, but just in case not, who would you say is your all-time favorite director?
Oh, shoot! All-time favorite director. I mean, Mikhail Haneke is pretty fantastic. I don't know. I'm gonna pick someone. Man, I'm no good at this.
This question, actually stumps directors harder than anybody. It is tough to say. And it could be, just favorite filmography, or just a guy who I always point out a guy like Danny Boyle's in my top 5 because he doesn't always hit home runs, but he always swings. Like he always tries something crazy. Same with, I mean, you could argue Wachowski's and others. Like they don't always hit home runs; they strike out sometimes.
All right,
oftentimes. But go ahead.
I mean, David Fincher obviously has never made a bad film. Director to look out for, I would say Kitty Green. I think like she's incredible. Between The Assistant and the documentary that she made, I can't wait to see whatever she does next. I'm really excited about Barbie. I think Greta Gerwig is incredible, and everything that she's a part of is always phenomenal. Oh, Lynn Ramsey. Oh shit. Yeah, she's up there. Shoot, man. I don't know.
No, that's a handful. You name some up and comers, and you name Fincher.
This is torturous.
Honestly, I got to start rephrasing that question because it actually like breaks directors' brains sometimes when I ask it. It's a hard thing to say. It's like, who's your favorite kid? You know, like
I'm gonna. It's like gonna dawn on me. Like I keep like remembering answers to the questions like 2 questions later. So,
shoot me an email at 3 a.m. when you're
exactly. I'll be like, I got it. This is who it is. I don't know. You know, you got to put Bong Joon-ho on the list. You got to put the Coen brothers on there. They're all good. Everybody's good.
Everybody's good. Aforementioned subject, changing topics a little bit here. What is your all-time favorite anime?
Ooh, that's a fun one. Okay, so listen. All right, here we go. So Neon Genesis Evangelion is brilliant. I mentioned that earlier. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Madoka Magica. I think that's like, I don't know. That was like kind of the series that got me into anime because it was like had this whole Sailor Moon vibe, but then went super dark. And I loved that. I love this sort of the deconstruction of the magical girl thing. But for my money, best anime is a show called Nichijou, or My Ordinary Life. It's like this slice of life. It's kind of off kilter, but it is so profoundly like thoughtful and philosophical, but so like subtle about it though. It's just so cute and ridiculous and has some of the best absurd humor ever. So go watch that one. Made in Abyss is great, but I don't recommend anybody watch that. Hopefully that's good. Pokemon is that's the number one anime. Everybody knows that.
Taking over my child's life right now. But yeah, so no more Pokemon for me. You have made a variety of short films, including a Batgirl fan film. So this question is kind of pointed that direction. What villain in Batman's extensive rogues gallery do you really want to see adapted into live action? Because they only seem to play with the same 5. Thank
you. Oh man. All right. Listen, I will say, like, I love that we're getting to explore a lot of the villains in some of the sort of offshoot stuff. Like Harley Quinn, I think does Kite Man justice, which is I can't believe like that sentence came out of my mouth. But I would just honestly love to like just have kind of a movie where it's just all of the sort of the villains that get overlooked in like, because I know there's that episode of the original of the animated series where like it's all the main villains and they're playing poker, and that's like one of the best episodes of an animated series ever. But I'd love to see that kind of setup, but with all of like the villains that no one takes seriously, like Polka Dot Man and Calendar Man and Mothman and all of that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Or like, I don't know. My answer is going to be Mothman. Let's just do that. I like Mothman. He's fun. I want to know more about him. What's his deal? What makes him tick? Why does he get up out of bed in the morning? What's his motivation? Why moths? I want to know his story.
We'll take it, Mothman.
God, I was not ready for this.
Again, switching gears a little bit. You are a Jacksonville native and a supporter of the community. If someone comes to town, what's the local eatery you're taking them to try out? What's your favorite kind of local spot in Jacksonville?
Ooh, great question. All right, so there's a great taco place called Taqueria Cinco, which is a few blocks down from me. That would probably be. They've got a great happy hour where they do a nachito bowl. So if you want Mexican, I'm taking you there. If you want like sushi or hibachi, got to go to Fancy Sushi. I think now they've like kind of become a franchise now, but still like you can't beat their lunch menu. Is it Angie Subs? Angie Subs got to get the Peruvian. That Peruvian sauce will change your life. I'm going to leave it at that.
Like a life-changing sauce. Don't get me wrong. You mentioned your age range, and these are always telling answers here. Who was your first celebrity crush?
It was either Emma Stone or Kim Possible. Definitely one of those redheads.
It was either a real person or a fake person that was a redhead.
One of those two, yeah.
That's a perfect answer. What would be Franklin Rich's walkout music? So if I'm introducing you at the draft house, or you're coming out for your TED talk, or you want to come out to like box somebody in a celebrity match, what are you entering to that's hyping everybody up?
Oh, that's probably Dancing in the Moonlight by King Harvest, or Elephant by Tame Impala, or Beethoven's Ninth. One of those.
I feel like you could mash up Beethoven with each of those, possibly make a really cool
that would be fun, right?
Intro song. Yeah. Number 13 here. We're getting close here. If you were given the opportunity to program a little one-night film festival, say a Franklin Ritch double feature, two films that either represent the tools inside of you, or maybe just two films you love that you like to pair together to share with the masses, maybe two that define you best, however you want to rationalize it. What two films are you screening for a Franklin Ritch double feature for folks?
Great. Franklin Ritch double feature. I want to, like, I'm tempted to be like, oh, Ed Wood and Disaster Artist, but like deep down, it's going to be funny games.
Impossible movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be Funny Games and the Lego Movie. That's the Franklin Ritch double.
Those are the two wolves. No, that's a good one, because that's the right palate cleanser for Funny Games.
Hands down. That's like the easiest question of this whole bunch. It's Funny Games and the Lego Movie.
Good stuff. And to get a little heavier with it, if you could have one answer to one unknown question in the universe, what would it be? Examples include, like, is there a God? What's the origin of life? Meaning of life? What's the day I'm going to die? Who killed JFK? What's the one question you'd have answered?
Yeah. What was the whole Loch Ness Monster thing about? Like, I kind of just I don't want to know like too much. I just want to know, like, what, like, I'm sure it was all just like a photo, like, that was of a duck or something, or but I'm just curious. Like, was there ever like something, or was really all of that just for nothing? Like, I don't know. I just kind of want a little bit of closure. Like, as much as I want to know like about alien life and are we alone in the universe? Like, I do just kind of want, like, just give me the Loch Ness Monster. I won't be like devastated if it's not true. I'll be like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. But if it's true, then like, well, damn, like, that's cool. Okay, sweet. Good to know. Moving on. It's not going to change my life,
Fair enough. And finally, what would be your dream project to make? Be it to write, direct, star, whatever you want to do. Is there a genre, a period, or a style you'd like to tackle? Is there an IP you'd like to adapt? Or is there something original of your own you want to, like, your ultimate magnum opus you're hoping for?
Sure. When I was little, like, the movie that I knew I was going to make, and this is how you can understand why recently my dreams have been fully and utterly crushed. But when I was little, I really wanted to make a Super Mario movie. And now I feel like, what have I been doing this whole time? What is it all for? Now that we have a Super Mario movie and it is profoundly mediocre, I might just retire after this first film, because I'll never get to do the Super Mario movie that I wanted to make as a kid. I don't know. I'd like to do something really strange. I know that I like my next future projects are definitely going to be kind of in a similar kind of avenue as ARTIFICE GIRL, as far as genre and tone and whatnot. But I'd love to do something really out there. I'd love to make a really good Doom sequel. Like, for the movie about the video game, and I think there's like two of them now. They're both not very good, but I would like to make I want to make a Doom sequel that's like Oscar worthy. That's actually like really good, and everybody is like, "Yo, you got to go watch the new Doom movie," and everyone's like, "What? Why?" And it's like, because it's actually really good. But then you go and you watch it, and I want to give someone like that kind of experience, where you take an IP or property that you would never expect would be like profound and philosophical and thoughtful and like polished in that way, and just give it like a really fantastic, phenomenal sequel. I'll never get, like, no one will ever go for that. I'll never get a green light on anything like that. But it like, to me, that it would just be really kind of fun. I'd love to make like you make a what are those things called? Like is it Beyblades? What are the spinning tops? Remember those? I want to make a movie, take like a weird toy brand or something like that, or a Digimon. I'm going to make a Digimon movie, but it's going to be like actually like incredible. It'll be like Call Me by Your Name. You know, it won't be like a blockbuster. It'll be like this really thoughtful, stripped down indie kind of art house film, but it'll have the Digimon brand and IP to back it up. I don't know. I want to do something weird like that.
Subverting expectations. That's the Franklin Ritch way.
Always.
Well, that concludes the Rapid Fire 15. Those were answers. A lot of weird name checks. No, they were good answers. That was a fun round of it for sure.
I want to keep people like, I want to still maintain a little bit of mystique. It's like, who is this guy? Is everything he makes going to just be like the dark, gritty sci-fi, or what's he going to do next? I don't know. His answers on that podcast were really weird. I got to tune into whatever's next.
Exactly. We think if they see Artifice Girl, they will be tuning into whatever's next. And to that point, is there any upcoming projects you're allowed to talk about? Anything we can keep an eye out for beyond Artifice Girl? You're allowed to say.
Sure. All I can say at this point is that if you enjoyed the Artifice Girl, or if there were things about the Artifice Girl that really spoke to you, then I think you'll be very excited for what's in the pipeline, because I'm excited and I'm really looking forward to telling more stories.
As someone secretly in the know, I am excited for you. And again, we're happy you're taking our calls now. We'll be sad on the day you stop.
No time soon. Trust me. You're gonna be sick of my calls. I'll tell you that.
Late night calls. Hey man, did you ever see that Kim Possible revival? Sent you? We don't want to make Kim Possible.
I had this idea. So Kim Possible, you're gonna love it. Emma Stone. With Digimon. It's going to be great. And you're going to be like, all right, we got to block this guy.
Let's, we don't see either of those things happening, except I could see you actually submitting after that dissertation, we'll have Slinky the movie on our desk pretty soon.
Oh, so, don't tempt me. I'm going to do it now.
No, we appreciate the time. And again, Artifice Girl, wherever you buy or rent movies, look for it on all your on-demand services. We are proud of this movie. We are proud of Franklin. We are excited for everything he's up to right now, and couldn't be happier for the success of him. Again, glad we got it on that ground floor. Although I'm starting to question it after this interview. So
good.
No, I'm kidding.
That was the whole point.
No, as we're recording with him, he's about to jump on a whole whirlwind tour of Q&As at draft houses and such. So safe travels to you. By the time folks hear this, you will be back and exhausted and maybe delirious enough to write one of those script ideas. So perfect.
That'll be that's perfect timing then. Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate this. This has been wonderful. It's nice having like kind of a more casual.
We try to keep it a little more conversational than just what's it like working with that guy.
Exactly. So thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
No, thank you. And again, folks, Artifice Girl, the Artifice Girl, find it on every on-demand service you ever use to rent or buy movies. And again, thank you so much for the time, Franklin.
Yes, thank you so much, Sean.
All right, take care.
Take care, man. Bye.
And there you have it, a talk with Franklin Ritch. All joking aside, like, guy's a super talent, and we are very excited to work with him again and to see what he does in the future here. Once again, check out The Artifice Girl across your on-demand platforms now. For show notes, including some links to Franklin and the trailer for the movie and where to find it, check out paperstreetpodcast.com. You'll also see a link tree there for some other Paper Street news and information to find us, to find the company on social media and such. paperstreetpictures.com is another way through that. Check out Shudder if you don't have it already. We got a handful of films on there, including Revealer, Blood Relatives, Sorry About the Demon, and Scare Package 2. Glad to be back. I'll be with Becky again on the next one here soon. We're just getting back into the groove of things, up and running again. So until then, sorry if I sucked. Promise to do better next time. Until that day, gang, get back to work. This has been a Paper Street Pictures presentation. For more information on Paper Street, please visit paperstreetpictures.com. For professional inquiries, please email info@paperstreetpictures.com. Theme song and incidental music provided by Alex Cuervo. You can check out all of his work at alexcuervo.net, and you can follow this program on Instagram at Paper Street Podcast.